Chapter 56. Let us bury the past 6 feet below the ground. After this surprise meeting with Riel, Huan Chul hurriedly reported to Hyunaki about Riel. Huan Chul was all smiles when he came to Hyunaki's office to break the good news, but found him having romantic moments with Sarah. She was standing close in front of Hyunaki, and they were about to kiss. He was shocked and dismayed and couldn't say a word. Then Hyunaki broke his silence. Huan Chul, what's with the happy face? Anything you wanted me to know? Huan Chul, losing his smile, pursed his lip, then said, nothing important. I came to let you know I opened an account in a bank. That's all. Then he turned his back and closed the door behind him quietly, feeling aghast. Unknown to Huan Chul, Hyunki caught an interest in Sarah way back at the resort. He found Sarah attractive. She was gregarious, affectionate, and well-educated. Hyunki asked her casually, do you have a boyfriend? Sarah she looked at him timidly and replied, none yet. Why? Then Hyunki stared at her and said, would you like to be with me during our time at the resort? Sarah stared down at Hyunki but replied, yes, why not? I'm free. And so began their closeness, and Hyunki seemed to get over with Riel. Riel and Natalie were leaving the bank when they happened to come across with Huan Chul. He was waiting for Riel to talk with her. Huan Chul, what a surprise again, exclaimed Riel. Yes, I am waiting for you. Can we talk alone? Huan Chul looked severe, and Riel sensed something troubling him. Yes, sure. She turned to Natalie and said, I'm sorry, Natalie. Natalie chimed, I understand. Let us have dinner next time. Good night. Then Natalie left, waving her hands to them. Could I take you first for dinner since I ruined it with your friend? Riel smiled and nodded. Huan Chul brought her to a Chinese restaurant, and while waiting for their order, Huan Chul asked Riel about her new life in the city. I am enjoying my independence, Chul. I am still adapting to the new environment, but I'm doing just fine. I still don't like cooking my meals. I always ask Natalie to dine with me before coming home, but I'm fine. Riel talked at ease with Huan Chul, her elbows on the table with folded hands under her chin. Huan Chul was all attentive to Riel, then asked, aren't you going to ask Hyunki's whereabouts? Riel she stared at him emotionless. A long silence stood between them. Then Riel asked, was there something else I should know? He already had a girlfriend, so what was there to ask about him? Both were quiet momentarily, then Riel spoke. Chul, let us face it. Everything about Hyunki and me was over, and we made our closure official when I accepted your marriage proposal. Even if our wedding didn't push through, Hyunki and I were over, and there was no use in getting back together. He had moved on, and so did I. I want to start afresh, and I am happy with how my life is going. Huan Chul looked conflicted, and in his mind, he blamed himself for ruining their beautiful love affair. Riel continued, I also request that you stay away from me completely, like your brother. I do not want us three to cross paths, and if ever we do, because this is just a small town, let us treat each other as strangers. Let us leave the past behind. Better yet, let us bury the past 6 feet below the ground. I don't want to have anything to do with you, your brother, and your company. In due time, everything will turn out well. Besides, my stay here was temporary. I am just taking a breather, taking things one step at a time. And when I feel that I have left everything behind or forgotten, that is when I'll return home. Today's conversation is the last, Huan Chul, and this is her last goodbye. Riel stood up and left without turning back. That evening, Riel couldn't sway her mind about Hyunki. She realized her mistake in dumping Hyunki for Huan Chul but was firm in giving them freedom. She also felt weary from Hyunki's attention to her and wanted to consider staying away from him for good. Unbeknownst to her, Hyunki thought the same way too. His interest in Sarah grew, and he thought of giving himself time to evaluate his feelings for Sarah. The following morning, Riel was about to leave the apartment's premises when she saw a guy who was about to ride his car. He abruptly stopped and faced to greet her. Hello, new neighbor. He smiled warmly, waving his hand at Riel. Oh? Hi. Riel reciprocated. I see you were leaving for work. I can give you a lift. I'll take you there in time, he offered. He walked over to Riel's side of the road, raised his hand, and introduced himself. I'm Akio Hinode, and offered his hand for a handshake. Riel took his hand for a handshake and replied, I'm Riel Kamao. You were the son of the landlord lady. Where was she, by the way? I haven't seen her for weeks because she usually waters those plants in your front yard. Akio smiled warmly and said, she returned home, to Japan, I mean. Please ride with me for you to save time. I could bring you faster there without tiring your beautiful legs through walking, said Akio Hinode jokingly. Riel giggled shyly. Riel could not decline his good intention, so she accepted. Akio parked his car in front of the bank and hurriedly went to Riel's side to open the door for her courteously. Nice knowing you, Riel. Have a nice day. Akio gave a curt nod simultaneously with Riel's thanks and returned to his car. Riel felt lighthearted the entire day. Meanwhile, Natalie was inquisitive about Riel and Huanchu's meeting last night. It was nothing, Natalie. Just friendly conversations because we had been friends since our last day in high school until college. We just talked about our lives, and why he was here, that's all, Riel said, wanting to keep the truth to herself. You mean, Guanchul, that handsome guy, wasn't even attracted to you? Natalie was stubborn. We were just friends, Natalie, and that's all. That evening, Hyun-ki took Sarah on a dinner date in a plush hotel in the city. She was so alluring that Hyun-ki couldn't take his eyes off her. Hyun, I'll melt if you would not stop staring at me, Sarah said boastfully. After their romantic dinner, they went to the hotel bar. You're so beautiful, Sarah. Come on, let us join the dance. The music was romantic. I want you close to me, he said frankly. As they danced, Hyun-ki held her waist tight closer to him and said, Sarah, be my girl? Sarah was amazed. She had never expected Hyun-ki would profess his feelings for her that fast. His relationship with his former executive assistant was no secret around the company's walls. She had this nagging feeling that she was just a rebound. Hyun-ki was using her to fill Riel's absence, but she was decisive. She will win Hyun-ki's attention to make him forget Riel forever, by hook or by crook. Meanwhile, that evening, Natalie and Riel had just their dinner in a small restaurant, so Natalie suggested they take a stroll inside the mall and window shop simultaneously during their time. They were lively chatting when they came across Akio Hinode choosing some shirts from the men's section hangers, and Riel approached him and greeted him sprightly. Hi, I believe you're doing some shopping, asked Riel with a curious tone while Natalie was at a distance, watching. Hey, are you shopping also? Akio was surprised. No, just window shopping with my office mate, showing her hand toward Natalie, standing far from them. Riel waved at Natalie, calling her to come close, then introduced her to Akio. We were strolling to burn down the calories from the food we ate, and walking inside the mall was more fun because we could window shop simultaneously, Natalie related. Do you always eat in a restaurant? Asked Akio, looking at both, wondering. It was because Riel was not in for cooking meals, said Natalie. Oh, I see. Please wait for me. I'll pay for my purchases, then we could go home together, offered Akio. While waiting for Akio Hinode to finish his payment at the cashier, Natalie said something to Riel about Akio Hinode that impressed her. How did you know Mr. Akio Hinode? Riel asked Natalie. How? We were neighbors. His family owned the flat I am renting, and it was only this morning that he introduced himself, so you don't know anything about him yet. For your information, Mr. Akio Hinode was a known realtor in this city. His affluence and influence never affected him. He was down to earth and approachable. How did you know that? Natalie asked Riel curiously. My architect cousin was working in his company. He was friendly, empathic, and easy to be with everyone. There was no rotten egg for him. That was why you became friends that easy, right? Remarked Natalie. Riel was dazzled. Riel recalled their first meeting. She saw Akio Hinode as a good-natured person, and it was true. He was friendly, easy to be with, and humorous. And at the same time, he was tall, stunning, and buff. He had broad shoulders and was well-built. His brown slanted eyes were adorable. His cleft chin was attractive. He was a guy who could quickly fall in love with. Then she wondered, does he have a girlfriend? Akio Hinode, Riel, and Natalie left the mall happily, with friendly conversations. Natalie asked to drop her near the bus stop so they could go straight home. While in the car, Akio's curiosity couldn't escape Riel's attention. What made you decide to live here rather than return to your family? Don't you ever miss them and your friends? I miss them, but I have to learn to be independent, and I am mature enough now. And I am sure your next question is, did I not miss my boyfriend? Riel frankly said. Akio grinned and asked, with your looks, I know you had a boyfriend, but that's not what I wanted to know. Rieler? He paused, then asked outright, what had he done to stay away from him? Riel was astounded, and she had not seen that coming.